the most important equipment that you need to create the guitar tone that you want, you already have. Hello, I'm Mike Hayes, and on this video we'll be presenting some concepts to help you achieve the guitar tone that you want. It's a well-known fact that a good guitar player can make any guitar sound good. So how do they do this? Well, the professional player knows that their tone is in their hands. And over time, through attentive listening, they've created audio reference points in their mind. And what happens is that their body finds ways to produce the tone they're hearing in their head. So strange though it may seem, we're going to start by talking about listening to music. And this is the best way that I know to create a good tone on your guitar. Let's begin by making some distinctions about listening to music. Firstly, there's the passive type listening, where it could be like background music that you may be casually listening to, or you may in fact be tuning it out. You might be out shopping and you're not really paying attention to it. Then there's emotional listening, where you might hear a piece of music and you feel goosebumps, or you might feel sad or energized. Now, most people hear on these two levels. The next level is called perceptive listening. This is the area of the musician, and this is the area that we're most interested in, particularly when we're talking about things like tone, developing a concept of tone. With perceptive listening, we're developing much more focus and ability to concentrate on what we're listening to. This is where we ask ourselves questions like, what key is the music in? What is the style of music? How many instruments are playing? And this is the area where we develop the concept of tone. What do we call a good tone? And it may not even be a guitar that's producing this tone. We're trying to develop a concept of what we call a good tone. And then once we get that clarity of the tone that we want to create, our body will find a way of producing that tone on our guitar. And this is where, when we're choosing a guitar and we're trying to work out what strings, what gauge, and so on we want to use, what type of amplifier, once we've got a concept of the tone that we want to create, this makes it much easier to make decisions when we're buying equipment. Something that was very helpful to me in developing concentration and this idea of perceptive listening, and it's not an original idea by me, was a thing that I saw in Downbeat magazine, the music magazine. What they would have in this magazine was a section where they'd have what they call a blindfold test. And this is where they'd have an artist come in and they'd play them various tracks off records, and they'd ask the artist who they thought it was. They had to try and guess who was playing that particular track. And they were trying to pick obscure tracks so that it would be hard for the person to have previously heard this. So I took this idea on board, and with some musician friends, we would be listening to the record collection that I had. And over time, this record collection was quite extensive. I'd buy in records from warehouse sales. And in fact, we used to import that many records that the people at customs thought we had a music shop, actually. But it was just we ordered in that many records to have a listen to. And after a while, the really good thing about it is I could not only pick the song, but I could pick who was playing on the track. And I could even determine it was Ray Brown playing bass, not Ron Carter. And it was Jake Hanna on drums and so on. I could actually pick the style of playing, not only the song. And now I'd like to give you a couple of examples to show you how this type of concentrated, focused listening can impact your guitar tone. I'm holding here an album called Feel the Night. It's by the guitarist Lee Ritenour. This album came out in 1979. I thought it was fantastic then. I still think it's amazing. The record featured a whole star-studded team, people like Ernie Watts on tenor saxophone, Steve Gadd on drums, and the whole record to me was quite mind-blowing. I listened to this record over and over, and one of the things that really astounded me was the type of sustain that Lee would get on his guitar. Now, the funny thing is, it wasn't until years later that I realised that it wasn't just the guitar that was creating this long sustained sound. Lee had an overdrive on the guitar, but at the same time as he was playing the lead lines, Ernie Watts was playing the exact same notes in unison. And between the guitar and the tenor saxophone, it created this incredible long sustaining sound. Now, in a moment, I'm going to play an example where I'm playing a contemporary guitar sound. And when I'm playing this type of radio type guitar solo, contemporary type guitar solo, I've got this long sustained tone from this Feel the Night album. I've got this in my mind. Now, why I'm mentioning that, I'm also going to play immediately after it a country style solo. Now, I'm playing it on the same guitar. When I'm going to the country style solo, I'm thinking of the type of sound that Lloyd Green, the session steel guitarist from Nashville, the type of tone that he creates on his pedal steel guitar. So I have got the same guitar, I've got the same gauge strings, I've made some slight adjustments to the equipment, but the most important thing is the audio reference points I have in my mind. So I'm going to play both of these tracks now. Firstly, a contemporary solo. I've got that Lee Ritenour long sustained tone. Remember, the strange thing is it was really a guitar and a tenor saxophone that I was listening for, but I've sort of got that in my mind, and that helps me hold the notes longer. It means that I leave my fingers on the strings longer, and this helps me produce more sustain. When I'm playing the country solo, I'm thinking more like the tone that Lloyd Green would get out of his pedal steel guitar. So I have made some adjustments on the amplifier and so on, but what the important thing is that I want to get across here is that what determines the changes I make on the equipment is the tone that I'm hearing in my head. Okay, there you go. So the point that I'm trying to make is that to me, tone is more of an internal concept than external equipment. And there's plenty of instances where you can see this at play. A case in point would be Canadian guitarist Ed Bickett, who plays jazz, gets a wonderful jazz tone on a Fender Telecaster. Okay, that's all for this session. I hope you've got something out of it. I look forward to catching up with you next time. Bye for now.